Hello guys, it's pakman here, and today I will show you how to recognize text from image and translate it using Google ML Kit in Flutter. So please subscribe to my channel and we can start now. First of all, let's add camera package to have our camera preview in our widget. Camera widget is added, so now we can add our camera preview to our widget. But first of all, we should initialize our camera controller. Let's create it in a separate widget. Let's make it stateful widget. Now we should add our camera controller and initialize it in initState method. As you can see, we need our description to our camera controller argument, and description is basically our camera description object. And to do that, we can check available cameras by calling available cameras and basically take the first camera description from available cameras. To do that, we can make it basically in scaffold in our main.dart file. Let's create future builder. As for future, we'll call available cameras. Let's add circular progress indicator whenever our snapshot connection state is connection state waiting. Let's add error message whenever our available cameras throws an error or doesn't have any data. Let's get first of our available cameras and pass it to our camera widget as an argument. Let's add our camera argument to our camera widget. Let's assign our camera from constructor to our camera controller. As you can see, the initialize method is a future, so we need to wait until our camera controller is initialized, and to do that we can use feature builder. Let's firstly create our future function that will be used in our future builder and assign our init camera function to our camera controller.initialize function. Let's change our container to be a future builder. As future, let's use our init camera function. As before, whenever our connection state is waiting, let's return our circular progress indicator. Whenever our camera is initialized, we can return our camera preview from camera package and see that our camera preview is seen in a widget. Let's try and test our app. As you can see, there is a bug and our application cannot be compiled because we need to set up mini SDK version in build.gradle file to be 21. Let's do that. This changed, so now let's try and rerun our app. As you can see, we can see our camera preview in our application. However, let's make it to be center. To do that, let's wrap our widget with sized box and assign full width and height of the screen. Now it looks much better, and let's create floating action button that will make a photo, and therefore from this photo we will be able to recognize and translate our text. To do that, let's wrap our widget with stack and add floating action button on the camera preview. We can wrap whole future builder with our stack, and we will add floating action button that will take picture on that stack. For now, we'll have empty function for taking photo. As you can see, our styling is a little bit broken and we have no longer full screen width assigned to our camera preview. We need to move our sized box to be applied on the camera preview, or basically whole stack widget, so therefore it is aligned properly. So let's remove our sized box and let's align it as a parent of camera preview. Let's change alignment to be bottom center for our floating action button, and let's make our floating action button to be a little bit up because now it's too close to edge of our screen, and it's not convenient to press that button. To do that, we need to wrap our floating action button with positioned widget and align some pixels from the bottom. As you can see, it looks much better, and now we can use our Google ML Kit to recognize text from photo that is taken from our camera widget. As you can see, there is Google ML Kit package in pub.dev. However, we will not need the whole Google ML Kit package. We'll need some specific plugins, and the one that we'll need is Google ML Kit text recognition, and then we'll need language identification to check what is the language of our recognized text, and also our language translation, which is Google ML Kit translations. So in overall, we will need 3 Google ML Kit packages. Let's start with text recognition package. Let's add our text recognition Google ML Kit package to our Flutter project. When the package is added, we can create our API to recognize text and use Google ML Kit package for recognizing the text from image. To do that, let's create our API folder and create our recognition API. Let's create a static method that will return a string with recognized text, and as input it will take the image. Let's take input image as an argument from our Google ML Kit text recognition package. Let's add try catch block, and whenever an error is caught, then of course we'll return null and no recognized text will be shown in our widget. First of all, we need to initialize our text recognizer. As you can see, text recognizes accepts text recognition script argument, and for default it is a Latin, which basically means that Latin alphabet type is the default type of alphabet. However, whenever you want to recognize some Chinese or Korean type of alphabet, then of course you can change the script by changing the script argument. But we will use Latin for this demo. Now we can process our image and return our recognized text. We can use our text recognizer that we have just initialized, and we can use process image function, and as an argument we'll put input image, so the image that is taken by the camera. As you can see, process image returns the recognized text object, and we can get text of that recognized text object by calling basically recognized text.text, and we can return that from our function. So our recognized text function is done, and let's use it in our camera widget. Let's make our unpressed function to be asynchronous one. First of all, let's take our image by calling the camera controller. We'll use take picture, and take picture returns X file. Now we can use recognized text. However, as you can see, our argument of recognized text function is a type of input image, and therefore we need to somehow transform our X file to input image, but it's not really hard because we have from file constructor for input image, and we can use that. And as a file, let's put a new file, and let's put our image path to our file, and therefore we have file that is transformed to input image, and input image is accepted as an argument of recognized text function of our recognition API. We have our recognized text, so let's show it on some kind of a widget, and we can use our stack and add a new text widget or container with text widget where we can put our recognized text. However, we'll need some kind of global variable that we store our text, and will be used in changing states. So let's create it now. It will be nullable string shown text, and it will be displayed only if it's not null. If it's not null, then container will be shown with some background color to be colors black, and it will be black 45 to add some opacity. And for our child, let's add text widget with our recognized text, and let's make it white. Let's change the state of our widget when our recognized text and assign shown text to be our recognized text from our recognition API that use Google ML Kit. Of course, we won't be able to test this on the emulator because emulator camera does not have any simulated room or emulated room that have any text, and to do that I will use my own device and use some piece of paper to recognize some text. As you can see, I have installed or basically debugged the Flutter project to my real device, and I will allow our project to take pictures and video, also allow to record audio. This is part of camera package permission. We have now access to our camera, and let's try to take a picture of some text. And as you can see, the text has been recognized. As you can see, it is placed at the bottom, so we can change the alignment of it to be on the center. And to do that, let's wrap our container with alignment widget and change the alignment to be the center. Let's save it and let's try again with our text recognition. Now it looks much better, and as you can see, the text is recognized. The next thing that we'll do is to recognize the language of our text and translate it to English. To achieve that, we'll need Google MLKit language package that will automatically recognize the language of our text, and also Google MLKit translation that will basically translate our text by using Google Translator. Of course, it's simple translation. If we want some kind of more complex translation of whole app or something like that, then it's recommended to use Google Translate API. However, it means that you'll need to pay for it for some number of requests sent to this API. First of all, let's install our Google MLKit package, and let's also add our Google MLKit translation package that will be used for translating our text to English. Our packages are added, and now we can create our API to recognize the language and translate it. Let's call it Translation API, and let's create a static method that will return future with string. Of course, it will be nullable string. If something goes wrong, then of course we return null. Let's name it translate text maybe. As an argument, let's add a string of recognized text. Let's add try catch block, and of course, whenever any exception is caught, we need to return null. First of all, we need to initialize our language identifier object and create our confidence threshold. Let it be 50%, so 0.5. And now we can use our language identifier and use identify language function. And we can return our language code, which is a 2 liters code. But before that, we can release some of our memory by closing our language identifier object, and we can do the same in our recognition API with our text recognizer. And if we are in the topic of releasing memory, we forgot to dispose our camera controller in our dispose method, which is also really important whenever you are creating especially controllers, like text editing controllers, for example. So let's just dispose our camera controller. Of course, we don't want to return the language code, but we want to return the translated text to English language. And to do that, we need to use our Google MLKit translation package. And first of all, we can create our on-device translator object, which is basically from the package of Google MLKit. It is on-device translator. As you can see, it has source language and target language required parameters. And those parameters are translate language enumeration. And basically this enumeration has the BCP code getter, and that BCP code is exactly the same as the language code. I mean the type of the code. And basically we need to find our source language and target language, but for target language we know that it's English, so we don't need to do that. It would be necessary whenever you will add some possibility to change the target language to not be only English, but to be like other language, like let's say Ukrainian or German, for example. But in this demo app that I'm showing you, I will just use the translate language enumeration value of English, and as a source language, basically we need to find the translate language. That code is the same as the identified language from the recognized text. So we need to look at the values, all values of our translate language enumeration, and we can call first where function, and in this lambda expression we can get the BCB code of each translate language value and find the first one that is the same as the identified language code. And the last thing that we need to do is to translate our text. So let's create our variable or final variable that is called translated text. And we can use our translated object and call the translate text function. And we need our recognized text to put as an argument. And of course we need to await that operation. And before we return our translated text, well, it would be nice to close our on-device translator object to release some of our memory and return our translated text and save it. And in our camera widget, we need to call that translation API function to basically translate our text to English from our recognized text that was recognized from taken image of our camera. Let's create new final, run translated text. And now let's call our translation API, translate text, and let's put our recognized text as an argument. Of course, recognized text can be null, so we can check before calling that if our recognized text is null. If it's null, then we'll just return empty value. If it's not null, then we want to translate it, and then we can assign it to our shown text property of our widget state and update the whole state. And therefore, whenever it's not null, whenever the translation has been found or the recognized text basically is possible to be translated, then our container with text of translated text is shown on our camera preview. Of course, we need to change recognized to be translated text as assigned value of shown text in set state. So let's just put the translated text. Let's save it, and now we can test our application on my real device. Okay, so we have our application started. So let's try to translate our text that we recognized before. So I just need to point to the button. And we can see that text has been translated from Polish to English, and it's pretty good. Of course, it's a simple translation. As I said, if you want more detailed translation, then please use Google Translate API. However, you need to pay for that whenever you exceed some number of requests, but you need to look at the documentation for that API. So for now, that's all. I hope you liked it. So please subscribe to my channel and please follow my social media, TikTok and Instagram. It's pakman_developer. See you next time. Who is the best?